This is the Earth Scraper. It's an underground city concept planned to be built in Mexico City. But underground structures are said to be an escape from the surface of the Earth due to climate
It
change,
is as bad as the experts
environmental
3
degradation,
degrees of global warming.
and even nuclear war.
Someday be dropped on our cities.
But what if it wasn't for that? What if we actually wanted to live and experience space in a different way? So instead of building upward, why don't we build downward? Welcome to the world of Earth Scrapers. So let's take a look at it from an architectural and urban planning point of view to see how it benefits humanity and the challenges of actually building an underground mega structure. But what actually is an Earth Scraper? An Earth Scraper is basically a mega structure that extends down underground. But Mexico City is facing critical issues related to urban sprawl. Basically, it is the congestion and scarcity of available land for new construction. You see, there's a strict city regulation in Mexico City that limits new structure to a maximum of 8 floors. This regulation is actually to prevent the city historic architecture from being overshadowed by modern buildings. But as the city population still continues to grow, finding space for development becomes very difficult. Then a Mexican architectural firm came up with a groundbreaking idea. Recognizing the fact that there was no any regulation governing how deep a building could extend underground, they conceived the idea of an inverted skyscraper, an Earth Scraper. The proposed location for this innovative structure was Zocalo, Mexico City Main Square, one of the few remaining open spaces in the city. The plan involved excavating the main square to create an inverted pyramid descending into the earth. And speaking of excavating, you know NEOM, right? The company behind Saudi Arabia insane mega projects like The Line and Tojana, the ski resort in the middle of the desert, and many more. But they also planned on making an upside-down ultra-luxury hotel, and they call it Aquarium. And they said it will be a subterranean digital community of the future, invisible from outside. This hidden world will be driven by boundless imagination, inverting architectural principles to integrate with nature. It will seamlessly connect hotel accommodations, apartments, retail space, entertainment zone, and innovative hubs, all encased within this mountain. But the idea of building downward is not entirely new. In 1931, the Japanese depth scraper concept was introduced. The design featured a 35-floor cylinder with a central void. At the roof, a large mirror would reflect sunlight down into the void, with an adjustable shutter to control the amount of light according to need. The inspiration for this concept came from the devastating destruction of the Great Kanto earthquake that took thousands of lives. This is the best Japanese engineers united to find a more suitable and safe way of living. The engineers thought that the concept would protect its residents from extreme earthquakes. The theory was, if the building components were underground, the structures would vibrate together, keeping the structure from experiencing crushing strain and significant damage. Noting that tunnels and caves actually sustained less damage during earthquakes. This observation led to the idea of constructing buildings as caves. By now, it has probably dawned on you that Earth Scrapers or underground structures of any kind are not some fresh new concept. They are literally a new or a 2.0 version of ancient cities. Like the Cappadocia region of Turkey is home to the underground city of Derinkuj, built around the 18th century BC. An entire community of up to 20,000 residents were carved into these rocks, giving birth to a labyrinth of homes, wineries, chapels, and stables for their animals, all deep beneath the earth's surface. And also in Tunisia, the ancient Berber abode of Matama, where Star Wars was filmed. But now, with new technology, engineers can drill even deeper into the earth, building insane subterranean underground mega structures. But the question is, how does living underground actually benefit human and the future of urban living? The idea of an underground megastructure has been on the mind of city planners, architects, and engineers. It's not just because the idea looks cool. This concept could solve a variety of problems and perhaps preserve the earth. Large cities are becoming incredibly dense, posing a challenge for city planners. Urban sprawl is becoming an huge issue, it's claiming farmland, and in addition to the declimation and degradation of natural habitat. You see, this skyscraper concept would comprise of 65 floors and reach a total depth of 300 meters. The skyscraper design incorporates an open central void, stretching from the top to the bottom, which optimizes natural ventilation to the lower levels, unlike other variations of underground structures, addressing some of the typical challenges associated with them. But at the surface, the top of the skyscraper also features a glass roof that also serves as an urban plaza. This innovative design allows natural light to filter down into the depth of the structure, creating a bright and inviting environment throughout. The design aims to provide homes for 100,000 people, maximizing the use of available land in densely populated urban areas, addressing the problem of limited spaces for development. Therefore, the design would include floors dedicated to museums, offices, and commercial properties. There will also be levels with vegetation and parks, simulating the experience of being outdoor.
Clicking sounds that reveal the presence of radioactive rays.
To someday be dropped on our cities.
The idea of an underground structure came from the fact that it could protect you from natural disaster and even nuclear war. And this triggered a multi-billion-dollar bunker industry in the 90s. Then it later died down. But now, we're seeing another rise, especially since COVID and the threat of several wars and climate change. So, a lot of billionaires actually spent billions and millions of dollars on these bunkers. You see, these underground bunkers actually sit more than 200 feet below the surface, about 14 floors. It has a pool, a cinema, a gym, and a firing range. You see, that's cool and all, but that's not the main idea behind an skyscraper concept. It is not to hide out after a fallout or an apocalypse. It's to prevent the fallout from even ever happening. So imagine if we let nature have the surface of the Earth back. That's the idea behind the half-Earth concept thought up by biology E.O. Wilson, where we eventually have 50% of the population underground and the other half on the surface. It theorized that if we protected half the global surface, we would give the Earth the space and time to heal itself. Then we might be able to pull ourselves back from the brink of total disaster. And it's also possible that skyscrapers will end up being cheaper and more efficient than traditional skyscrapers. They require less surface area and they are theorized to have lower operating costs than equivalent above ground structures. But building an underground mega structure as big as this will definitely not be that easy. So they also come with a lot of challenges. With the massive increase in hurricanes and flooding around the world today, that even the Sahara Desert got flooded. And for half a century, the Sahara Desert had been the driest place on Earth. You see, the underground city concept might have no problem when it comes to hurricanes, but just imagine evacuating 100,000 people from the structure in an emergency like a massive flood. Then that might be a big problem. But the truth is, even though we call flooding a natural disaster, most of them actually are not natural disasters because it's the way we alter the natural environment and the topography, like the way we build roads that doesn't absorb water, bridges and buildings that change the natural environment.
Urbanization changes habitats. So when you build on a place, it removes vegetation, it alters hydrology.
Flooding might seem as the worst challenge they could face, but actually it can easily be avoided if they focus more on the flood control system of the region and the waterproofing of the structure itself. But there are actually three big challenges that comes with underground structures, and one is the impact groundwater has on the structure. Groundwater is the water that exists underground in saturated zones beneath the land surface. That's why when you keep digging into the ground, you will eventually find water, creating a well. The upper surface of the zone is called the water table, and various factors determine how close the water table is to the surface for a given location, like the soil type, the topography, and the vegetation. But Mexico City happens to have its water table very close to the surface. Imagine a bowl of water with an object filled with air like a bottle. You submerge into it. Water generates leaves due to displacement of water and air, which makes both float. Groundwater can be very challenging when building underground structures. This is very relevant for earth scrapers because the deeper you go into the water, the more lift is generated. But a bigger challenge than the water pressure would be the soil pressure on the side of the structure. Soil pressure increases the more you move down also. So at the lower part, it could reach around 3,000 tons per square meter. That should be like 100 military tanks. About the same as the water pressure too. So that's like double the pressure on one structure. Hey guys, before we get to the next part of the video, I just want to say, if you find these videos interesting, please consider turning on the notification bell for Omega. I am working on some even bigger projects right now, so if you want to see them when they're ready, just hit the notification bell now. And also, I want to say a massive thank you for watching this channel. Honestly, I really appreciate your comments and support, so thank you for everything. Now, let's get back to the video. Okay. Take for example, you wanted to build an earth scraper. So for the slope, you would have to follow the common practice, which is to excavate with a slope to make the working conditions more safe for construction. And for the soil pressure, you would make the concrete walls about 2 meters deep. That's 10 times thicker than normal concrete walls, which means you would have to adopt the massive use of concrete. But for the water pressure, you would then make sure you keep the concrete sealed from water because a little crack or a mistake could cost the entire structure. As you can see, building an earth scraper has a lot of challenges and we have only covered part of it. This concept do not only break architecture, but also engineering and planning also. But the truth is, if this concept is taken into consideration and actually planned and done right, it could actually change the future of urban living. Take for instance this movie Silo. Actually, the underground structure in this movie is more of a bunker than an earth scraper. You see, Silo is a functioning community which goes beyond physical proximity. This community has shared the responsibility and the experiences. But because it is a bunker, every story, every rule, every detail, and the way it is built is designed to ensure the continuation of a completely closed society. So if you look at it in that sense, it's actually not that close to an earth scraper concept. The underground structure in Silo are not theoretical. They are literally miles underground, and their purpose is only to protect you when something bad happens. But the earth scraper concept could actually prevent most of this problem from happening, because it is what we do on the surface that contributes mostly to environmental degradation, extreme weather conditions, and even climate change. And if we start to consider this concept, we may be able to prevent it all and never even have to express it at all. If we give the earth the space and time to heal itself, we might just be able to pull ourselves back from the brink of total disaster. You know this saying, right? Prevention is better than cure. So the real question is, would you want to live like this? Or this?
This universe is finite, its resources finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist. It needs correction.
You don't know that!
I'm the only one who knows that.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video about underground cities. But now, since we have looked at how this concept could change the future of urban living, I think it's only fair we look at how technological advancement and AI could actually influence our future, which you can do right now by clicking the thumbnail on screen. This is one of my favorites and I think you would like it too. And with that, I'll see you in this video right here. Cheers.